Okay, great, we're on. So, make sure that when you're in a customer's home that you ask for all of their Cutco, because oftentimes if they have the rubber handled cheese knife, they got their Cutco, 7 years ago or whatnot, and that's when the rubber handle was available. Or they might have the pie cutter hidden in a drawer, and you want to make sure that you get that, because remember, pie is cut in glass, and glass is a really hard surface. It's not what you cut, it's the surface that you cut on that dulls the knife. And so the harder the surface, the more the wear. And that's why you'll find extra wear on the table knives, the spatula spreader, and the pie cutter. And actually also the cheese knife, because cheese very often, even though they're not supposed to, they're going to cut that either on the countertop sometimes or on plates. And they'll tell you that they don't, but oftentimes they do. And the reason I know they do is because I do. And so if I'm doing it sometimes because it's easy, chances are so are other people. And so we want to talk about the wear on these two knives. This one only has a couple of little burrs on it. And so you do want to make sure, right, that when you're doing it because of the angle, that you're making sure that those blades are perpendicular. The top of it won't be. And I want to kind of show you from this angle. I'm not going to sharpen it that way because I'm not left-handed. But this way you want to make sure that you go up and down, and that this part is perpendicular to that, so you maintain that 22-degree angle. And then of course this side doesn't matter. Be really careful not to scratch the face of this on the sharpener, right? Because of the angle of the pie cutter, it's actually kind of easy to do that. And this one hasn't been used very much, so got to eat more pie.
I guess so.
All right. If you have any, we can help you out. I mean, I'm just saying, we can help you with this.
Yeah, we can.
Take one for the team.
Yeah.
Okay, apple pie, almond, anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's do it, Mindy.
I know, right? No, I'm totally in the mood for apple pie. Okay, so not much on here. The cheese knife, whether it have the rubber handle, whether it be Santoku style, or whether it be everybody's favorite, the 1764. The cheese knife I have found over the last few years wears in a very specific way. And it's pretty typical that with the cheese knife, you're going to find the wear here, very deep burrs right here, and especially right back here towards the end, really super deep burrs where the teeth fold over. Now this one happened to have burrs down the length of the knife. These are really hard to sharpen. Okay, if you're brand new at sharpening, I wouldn't recommend experimenting with the cheese knife just yet, because it is really hard to sharpen. You can sharpen it on these sharpener, on the Ed Reed Sharpener, but you have to know what you're doing, and you don't really want to experiment with your customers' knives. But I will show you how to do it so that you can get the experience. Now this one, oddly enough, has no burrs on this side, and it's probably because I was over 5 years ago and I sharpened it. Okay, so you've had this since you probably got this in 2004.
I don't recall.
Is my guess, is something like that. And so you've had this for a little while. And so what I'm going to do here is lightly go up and down between each of the teeth. Now this is a micro double D edge, so you have to be very careful. You cannot sharpen that with this side. It doesn't work. But if you use the tip, right, so I've got the triangle turned inboard. If you use it on the tip and you're very gentle, be gentle, this is a fragile knife, and you lightly go up and down, you can get the majority of those burrs off of there. Okay? It's really hard and it takes time. This is the longest knife to sharpen, right? Because as you go over on one side, it folds over on the other side, right? Because as you sharpen one side, you have to sharpen the other till you get really fine. Okay, now, if you're having a hard time getting in between the teeth using this method, there is another method. This is an advanced method, and you want to be very careful doing it this way. See how the stone is wiggling around inside there? If you want stability, sometimes you can hold it just like this, especially with the cheese knife. You really don't want that thing moving around. The thing being the sharpening stone. So let's see how we're doing. We've cleaned up some of these burrs, but we still have some burrs up here. Most of these have been cleaned up. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to set this. How can I do this so you can see? I'm going to set it right like this. Okay. Now, I'm going to hold this. Now we have to maintain a 22.5-degree angle. So if you can't do this, I'm just going to set the whole thing down just like that. Okay. If you don't feel confident in doing this, don't do this. And again, this is a long process. You can hear the burrs. Now that tip gets right in between those teeth. I'm going to go down each one individually. Now, if I can't get all of these teeth, because this is hard, right? 17 years of experience, and this knife is hard for me to sharpen. Okay, it really does take diligence and time. And be careful not to scratch your customers' knives. I just noticed as I was doing this, there's a little scratch mark that I just made right there. Super sorry about that.
That's all right.
It's not a big deal, but it's certainly not going to affect the use of your knife there. But you got to be really careful to not scratch the knife and to get in between each of these teeth. Okay. Now, you see how much time I'm taking doing this. If you don't feel confident in doing this and it's super worn down, send the knife back to the factory. You know why you send the knife back to the factory? Because you can. Cutco is a forever guarantee. So if anything needs to go back to the factory, it's super easy. Now I'm looking here at Marty's knives, and I'm guessing that not many have to go back to the factory because he's super well trained. Right? This is his 6th or 7th sharpening or something like that. Any idea how many times I've been over?
No idea. I don't recall.
Yeah.
No, it's been quite a few times.
Yeah, it's been fun. So if I can't get a good edge on it, alright, we send it back. So now all of these teeth have folded over this way. Check this out. So the burrs are a lot less on this side, right? But now it's all folded over on this side. This is why you got to be super careful sharpening this knife. So now what I'm going to do very lightly, look at that, that's all it took. See that? Right? Now I've really worked these enough that I might be able to get them with this side. Okay? So again, ask yourself, do you want to spend this much time sharpening the cheese knife? If you're not sure how to do it, just